Before we dive into today's chapter, guys, I noticed something really important. Over 70% of you who watch my videos haven't subscribed yet, a humble request from your brother. I'm really close to reaching my first milestone of 1K subscribers, and I need your support now more than ever. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it motivates me to keep bringing you these amazing stories. Thank you so much, and now, let's jump into the chapter. In the previous chapter, we saw Zhuo Fan skillfully deflect Danking Shen's accusations about sneaking into the sacred mine, claiming his expertise as a 10th grade array master. However, Danking Shen wasn't entirely convinced and revealed his true motive, to claim the sword that injured Zhuo Fan. Let's begin the chapter. Zhuo Fan's voice carried a mixture of surprise and apprehension as he exclaimed, "Sacred weapon?" His eyes widened in disbelief, and he felt a sudden tension in his chest. The weight of Danking Shen's words hung heavy in the air. He had never imagined that the man's return to the Double Dragon Manor would be tied to something so monumental as a sacred weapon. And now, by a twist of fate, that weapon was in his possession. The realization hit him hard. If he admitted to having it, wouldn't it spell his doom? Zhuo Fan's mind raced, and his brows furrowed as he deliberated. No. No way. He must not know I have it. But how do I keep him from finding out? Once he reaches the cave, he'll see it's missing and connect the dots. What am I supposed to do now? Damn it! Why is a sacred weapon so important to someone like him anyway? It's a treasure even for me. Why should I give it up so easily? Danking Shen's sharp gaze caught Zhuo Fan's change in expression, and he asked suspiciously, "What did you just say? Sacred weapon? Who told you that?" Zhuo Fan quickly masked his panic, forcing a nervous laugh. When I entered the cave, I came across a sword unlike anything I've ever seen. Its spiritual energy was terrifying, and it almost killed me. It even moved on its own. I just assumed it was a sacred weapon because no ordinary spiritual weapon could be that alive. Danking Shen nodded thoughtfully, his suspicion easing. I see. So that's what you called it. I thought for a moment you knew about the vaulting sword's history. Vaulting sword, Zhuo Fan echoed, his surprise genuine. Danking Shen gave a solemn nod. Yes, the vaulting sword. The 5 regions of the continent each have a sacred mine. Over countless years, nature itself forged a divine sword in each mine to act as their guardian. The vaulting sword belongs to the western lands, and it's the treasure I seek. Zhuo Fan's mind raced as Danking Shen continued, his tone tinged with regret. I left the western lands long ago, and with that, I lost my right to claim the vaulting sword through proper means. The only option left to me is to take it by force. Hearing this, Zhuo Fan finally understood the scope of the man's ambitions. Still, he couldn't shake his unease. But senior, he said cautiously, when I saw the vaulting sword, it was wild. It nearly killed me. Are you certain you can tame it? Danking Shen's lips curled into a confident smile. Of course. The vaulting sword is no ordinary weapon. Its will is unparalleled. Even for someone at my level, subduing it would be a monumental task. But I have a connection with that sword. I trained with it during my time at the Double Dragon Manor. Our wills intertwined over years of practice. It was like the sword and I became one. Danking Shen's expression turned somber as he recalled the past. Back then, I had the chance to claim the vaulting sword. I even prepared enough sacred stones to stabilize its energy. But circumstances changed. In my rage, I destroyed 10 sects, and the Exalted sealed the sacred mine, forcing me to leave. If not for that, I would have taken the sword and risen to the peak of this world long ago. Zhuo Fan nodded slowly, though his mind was already plotting. So, this is what drives him. He's obsessed with the sword, and now he wants me to help him reach it. But once he finds out it's gone, how will I survive his wrath? Senior, Zhuo Fan said cautiously, If you left the vaulting sword behind once, why pursue it again now? Danking Shen's expression darkened, and he evaded the question. That's not for you to know. The evasive response didn't ease Zhuo Fan's concerns. He quickly shifted the conversation, hoping to buy himself time. So, Senior, you said the vaulting sword has a will of its own. Is it possible that someone else has already claimed it? Danking Shen frowned. Unlikely. That sword doesn't follow just anyone. Unless what? Zhuo Fan asked, his curiosity piqued. Danking Shen's gaze sharpened. Unless the exalted who sealed the mine intervened. The sword would listen to them without question. If they chose to move it, it would obey. Zhuo Fan sighed in mock sympathy, though relief coursed through him. Perfect. If he reaches the mine and finds it empty, he'll blame the exalted instead of me. Feigning innocence, he took out a blank jade slip and began inscribing a map. After a moment, he handed it to Danking Shen. Here you go, Senior. I marked the safest path for you. Danking Shen's face lit up with excitement. Excellent. With this, I can finally claim the sword. Ha 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 ha. Thank you, boy. Oh, it's nothing, Senior. I only hope my small contribution will be remembered, Zhuo Fan said, his smile deceptively humble. Danking Shen's expression shifted, his brow furrowing. I see where this is going. You're not the type to do something for nothing. Tell me, what do you want in return? Senior, how could you say that? Zhuo Fan replied with a look of mock hurt. Helping you is reward enough. Danking Shen scoffed. Spare me the act. You're clearly trying to secure a favor from me. Fine, I'll repay you now so you won't hold this over my head later. He paused, then added, What do you think would be an appropriate reward? Zhuo Fan's eyes gleamed with cunning. Oh, I wouldn't dare suggest anything. Whatever Senior deems fair will suffice. Danking Shen gave him a long, appraising look before sighing. You're a sharp one, aren't you? Fine. I'll give you something truly valuable, a secret art I developed myself. This is no ordinary cultivation method. It's my personal creation. With a wave of his hand, a green jade slip appeared. Zhuo Fan accepted it, his curiosity piqued as he read the title. Twin Soul Art? Danking Shen nodded proudly. Yes, this art allows a cultivator to form twin souls. It's the reason I've achieved such power. In the radiant stage, most cultivators form a single soul. But with this technique, you can form two. Imagine the possibilities. Zhuo Fan's eyes widened as Danking Shen demonstrated. A surge of energy emanated from the man as two distinct souls manifested, a proud sword soul and a massive dragon soul. The sight left Zhuo Fan speechless. See that? Danking Shen said, his tone triumphant. These are my twin souls. Together, they make my power unrivaled in the Western lands. And now, you have the chance to follow in my footsteps. Zhuo Fan stared at the jade slip in his hands, a mixture of awe and apprehension flickering in his eyes. Twin souls. Even in the sacred domain, such a feat is unheard of. What kind of monstrous technique is this? Danking Shen's laughter echoed in the air. Boy, you have the talent and cunning to match me in my youth. Don't waste this opportunity. With the twin soul art, you might just surpass me someday. Zhuo Fan forced a smile, hiding the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. Surpass you? Let's see about that. This art, it's more dangerous than it appears. But if I can master it, my path to power will be unstoppable. Zhuo Fan studied the jade slip in silence, his sharp gaze filled with concentration. Danking Shen, noticing his seriousness, nodded slightly and began to explain. The formation of the soul, Zhuo Fan, is a significant milestone in one's cultivation journey. It usually happens only once, during the ethereal stage, marking the culmination of one's spirit. Zhuo Fan's attention didn't waver. Danking Shen continued, his voice grave. But we are different. We reached that culmination early, during the radiant stage, and managed to form our souls then. This gives us a rare opportunity to form a second soul, but only under certain conditions. Zhuo Fan's expression grew solemn. What kind of conditions? Danking Shen's gaze hardened. The second soul must surpass the first in strength. If it doesn't, the first soul will interfere and disrupt the process, making it impossible to succeed. Zhuo Fan's confidence surged as he spoke. That's simple enough. Since my first soul was formed in the radiant stage, my spirit will naturally be stronger when I reach the ethereal stage. Danking Shen chuckled softly and shook his head. If only it were that easy. For others it might be. But for you, this poses a unique challenge. Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Why is that? Danking Shen's eyes gleamed as he explained. This ties into the second condition of forming a twin soul. No mountain is higher. The second soul must not just be stronger, but significantly so to suppress the first soul. Otherwise, the two will clash, leading to failure. Zhuo Fan's brow furrowed as the weight of this condition sank in. He muttered to himself, a soul stronger than my heaven dragon soul. That's not going to be easy. Danking Shen sighed, his tone tinged with regret. If only I had met you earlier. I could have guided you. You see, I formed my sword soul first, and only then created the heaven dragon soul, allowing me to suppress the first and achieve the twin soul art. Zhuo Fan smirked and rolled his eyes. Senior, that's hindsight talking. Don't tell me that if you had the chance to form a heaven dragon soul first, you would have held back just to wait for the sword soul. Danking Shen coughed awkwardly before admitting, True. Back then, I had no choice. The heaven dragon soul was beyond my reach, so I started with the sword soul, but that experience gave me the insight to achieve my twin soul later. Zhuo Fan's mind raced. What if I form a second heaven dragon soul? He asked, his eyes lighting up with the idea. Danking Shen immediately shook his head. That won't work. Two souls of the same type would never coexist. A mountain isn't big enough for two tigers. If you try to form another heaven dragon soul, your first one will resist it fiercely. It would be a disaster. He continued, This brings us to the third condition, harmony. For two souls to coexist within the same spirit, they must not threaten each other. Imagine sharing a room. If an ant crawls in, you won't mind because it poses no threat. But if someone barges in claiming ownership, conflict is inevitable. Zhuo Fan nodded slowly, starting to understand. So, the heaven dragon soul doesn't see your sword soul as a threat. Their natures are too different, so they coexist peacefully. Exactly, Danking Shen confirmed. The twin soul art allows two souls to rest within one spirit, as long as they are in harmony. The details are in that jade slip. Study it carefully. That's as much help as I can offer you. Danking Shen turned to leave, but stopped briefly, adding with a chuckle, Good luck figuring out how to create a soul stronger than a heaven dragon soul. That's something even I can't help you with. Before Zhuo Fan could protest, Danking Shen vanished, leaving him alone. Zhuo Fan scowled, muttering to himself, Damn old coot. You give me this impossible art and then leave me to figure it out on my own. He sighed and shook his head, trying to focus. Well, no point in complaining. I'll just have to make the best of this. With a flick of his hand, Zhuo Fan summoned the blood infant, which transformed into a demonic sword in his grasp. He inspected the pommel and found the word vaulting engraved on it. So, vaulting sword, huh? I didn't even have time to learn your name back then. I just hope that old guy doesn't come back to claim you. That would be trouble. Before he could think further, Danking Shen's voice echoed in the room again. By the way, boy, if your wound is discovered in battle, you'll be in real trouble. Startled, Zhuo Fan hastily stabbed the sword into his own gut, wincing as blood seeped from the shallow wound. The blood infant snickered before retreating back into his body. Zhuo Fan gritted his teeth, glaring at his injury. "Damn it! If that old man had seen you, I'd be dead by now." Danking Shen's voice carried a hint of amusement as he added, "Just make sure you don't drag me into your mess. Otherwise—" His tone grew cold before he sighed. "Ah, what a shame. If it weren't for the attention on you, I'd have dealt with this trouble myself. But doing so now would only make things worse." Zhuo Fan rolled his eyes. "Thank God I'm famous. Otherwise, I'd already be a dead man." He listened intently until he was certain the old man had truly left. Then he turned his focus back to the jade slip. As he read, his excitement grew. "This art, it's incredible. Danking Shen is a genius to have created something so mystical. If he had been born in a sacred domain, he might have reached the saint level." The following day, the arena was packed. Excitement buzzed through the crowd as they rushed to find the best seats. Today's battle would be historic, a clash between the demon-scheming sect and the sword god sect. Even the superior three sects had arrived to witness the fight, their presence a clear indication of the event's significance. The outcome could shift the balance of power that had remained unchanged for thousands of years. Shui Ruohua pointed toward the superior three sects, her voice filled with awe. "Look, Qingqiang, even they are here. Do you think the demon-scheming sect truly threatens their dominance?" Chu Qingqiang smiled radiantly. "When he's involved, no one's position is safe. I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it. The bigger they are, the harder they fall when he's around." Her laughter rang out, filled with confidence and admiration.